What's up, guys? My name is Graham Coffee. This is Dog Sports Live. Know we've been gone and away for a little while, but here back in action. I am unfortunately without Josh tonight. He is working on a few projects, but he will be back with us hopefully sometime soon, maybe tomorrow. I'm trying to get him on to chat signing day stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for bearing with us. I know a lot of you have reached out over DMs and Twitter and in my mentions, kind of asking when we were going to talk about the Bama game and all that. I've been on the road 3 of the last 4 weeks for work, so just now kind of had time to give it the proper amount of attention and try and look into what went wrong. But definitely a lot of stuff in there that I think is worth noting, and definitely worth noting if we do come to the event of Georgia and Alabama having a rematch here in a month or so, which seems to be possible. The odds makers like it to happen. So we'll get into that. I also have some tape for you on Dalen Everette. Obviously, he flipped to Georgia today. 4 or 5 star defensive back, depending on which recruiting service you subscribe to, but a consensus top 50 overall player in the nation, a guy Georgia wanted really bad back in the summer that committed to Clemson, and now he is back in the group with this rest of this 2022 signing class for UGA. Really, really talented player, so excited to talk about him. But let's get into Georgia and Alabama. So, I think we saw a different Georgia team than we had seen for most of the year, right? That feels pretty obvious to me. I want to look at a couple things. I think before we start running the tape, first and foremost, I said in the lead up to this game that the matchup I was most concerned about was the Alabama wide receivers versus Georgia's star / kind of slot DB position. The staff elected to go with William Poole III there, and first career start for a guy that, is a 5th year. He's been in the program for a long time. Christopher Smith had played that position a lot recently, but was coming off an injury. And we did see him at safety some, which is where he's played most of the year. But I don't know if they didn't think he was healthy enough to play star, if that's something that they wanted to hold out on in the case of an eventual rematch with Bama. But one way or the other, we didn't see him in that spot. So looking at what Georgia's secondary did in this game, actually wasn't as bad as you might think, just upon kind of remembering the fact that Alabama went and scored on 5 straight drives and 4 of those were touchdowns. William Poole was kind of the weak spot, like we thought he might be. He was targeted 11 times, 9 receptions allowed, 164 yards allowed, 2 touchdowns. And what really kind of killed him the most and killed Georgia the most was just the inability to wrap up pass catchers right as the play was starting to be made. There was 111 yards after the catch allowed by him, just him alone in that game, which something you hadn't seen from Georgia all year, right? Georgia had been a really sound, good tackling football team. Lewis Cine was sort of the guy that got picked on second most, targeted 8 times, six catches allowed, 80 yards, 44 yards after the catch. But we kind of know that about Cine. Like, he's a great safety. He's definitely stronger in run support, but he does a lot really well. You can live with Lewis Cine giving up 80 yards in receptions against Bama. You can't live with, your slot DB giving up 164 and 2 touchdowns, but you can live with that from Cine. And most of those yards came on that long Jamison Williams touchdown catch where he went past Ringo and Cine. Actually, no, I think they gave that yardage to Ringo, so disregard that. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the secondary, Ringo, 6 targets, 2 catches allowed. There was the one long downfield bust, but like, you knew going into that game, Bama was going to hit some plays over the top. I think if that was what you saw on the day, you saw, Ringo give up one long pass to Williams for a touchdown down the sideline. again, you can live with that. Kendrick, 5 targets, 3 receptions allowed, 27 yards, 9 yards after the catch. He did have a penalty or 2, but still, I thought he played a really good game, held up very well out on the boundary. And then your linebackers did very well in pass coverage. Tyndall only allowed 7 yards. Quay Walker, 21 yards. Dan Jackson, he had the 1 target for 1 catch, but 40 yards allowed on it. That was when Bama was backed up, 3rd and long. So, like, the secondary is not as Swiss cheese, I think, as a lot of kind of people have made it out to be in the aftermath of this game. I know Georgia fans are frustrated. I know Georgia fans are ready to beat Alabama. They're tired of kind of, this whole dialogue. And I mean, hell, I posted some stuff about UGA signing class yesterday, and I think half of the 50 or 60 replies to my tweet were like, well, those guys are going to lose to Bama in a couple of years or whatever. So it's the narrative, and you're going to have to deal with it until you beat them. Hats off to Bama. They played a really good game, right? So my opinion on the game after the rewatch is that Georgia played not to get beat. Let's start looking at the tape a little bit and kind of see what I'm talking about here. But so this is first drive of the game, and one thing that you can notice in this tape is that if you see Georgia bring in 5 or more guys, you're probably not, other than one instance, I think that was kind of glaring, which was the Dan Jackson play that he gave up. If you see 5 coming, you're usually going to see a play that you can live with if you're Georgia in your Georgia's defense and you're, Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart and the rest of that staff. If you see Georgia bring 4, you're about to see Bryce Young and Alabama do something that you don't want to see them do. So first play, bringing 4, but you got them coming over the top. I thought in the lead up to this game, what Georgia would do is play press coverage on the sidelines and try and force Williams and Mechie out towards the boundary. And they were able to do that there. And Bryce Young had to make a perfect throw, and he didn't. There, you've got seen Phil and run really good. So you see pressure on 3rd down, and boom, you're in good spot right there. I think that, that's a theme of this rewatch, in my opinion. Look at that again. You're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 come, actually 7, and you're good. Force the ball out quick, maybe just a little hurried. You're going to see with a lot of these, when you see Georgia bring more than 4, even if they're not getting home and getting pressure, Bryce Young looks hurried. He looks a little bit quicker, and a lot of times he's thrown off his back foot, and those are usually positive plays for the defense. Here you got a 3rd and 1. You just give up way too much cushion. Tyndall is, fast. But I saw this a lot in this game. It felt like Georgia just played a lot of big cushions. That's a play right there where Georgia was kind of, getting into the backfield towards Bryce. If he's able to make that throw between 2 defenders and over the umpire, you tip your hat and you move on to the next down. You've got, 4 guys coming there, but they were able to get some pressure with 4 on that one. And you just say, good play, great job, Bryce. Way to go. So, Georgia brought 5 or more on 44% of the Bama passing downs. And as you're going to see, a lot of, that 44% were most of the passing downs where Georgia didn't get hurt. So here you got 1st and 10, first quarter. Again, you force Young to throw to the boundary. You get Williams kind of, he's got a step on your corner, but Bryce Young is a really good quarterback. He will pick you apart over the middle. He is not, deadly accurate down the sidelines, maybe in the same way that Mac Jones was for Alabama a year ago. Again, he just won the Heisman Trophy. He's a really good quarterback. But if you want to give a receiver a step, or you want to give something up on defense against this Bama team, that's where you want to do it. You want to filter those wide receivers, Mechie and Williams. Now it would just be Williams in the event of a rematch. and whoever else they throw out, what other former 5-star or 4-star they throw out at wide receiver. But you can live with them, Bryce Young trying to throw a ball into a tight window, 30, 40 yards down the field from the opposite hash all day, because you're going to win more of those than you're going to lose. 2nd and 10, you bring 4, kind of a delay there from Nakobe, and that delay works out, right? Bats the ball down, and you get Bama into a 3rd and 10, which is where you want them. You bring pressure. Bryce throws it a little bit early, kind of sails it, kind of cocks it off his back foot a little bit, and look at that. You're off the field. You're up 10-0, second quarter. And then this is where the wheels start falling off for Georgia. So you bring 5 here, and, kind of an easy, simple little concept that Alabama's trying to run, but because you got somebody in the backfield, you're able to disrupt that play, and you're in 2nd and 10. You've got them behind the chains. You're really happy about it, and it's a good situation to be in. Here, you bring 4, and you aren't able to get out. Someone busted that coverage. I don't know if Scene is in zone there or whose responsibility it is. And like Georgia's playing a zone there. I'm not sure if someone's responsible for picking Robinson out of the backfield or exactly what happened there, but you've got them in 3rd and 2. Not ideal, but you'll take a 3rd down situation and hope for the best. And this is, I believe, where things start to go wrong. So yeah, this is just a blown coverage spot. I think it might have been William Poole. I'm not entirely sure. Let's go back and look. So that's Scene right there, but you've got William Poole. He's kind of in that slot corner spot. And as you see the play sort of develop, so there's 1, 2, there's a lot of guys playing kind of buzz sort of zones where they're up near the line of scrimmage, and obviously somebody's missing in the giant chunk of the field where the SEC logo is that Jameson Williams is about to catch this touchdown pass. I'm not sure, whose responsibility it was. Just looking at the alignment, my guess is it was Poole, which is understandable. Again, first-time starter. That's why you don't want to be starting a guy first game ever in this situation. So here you've got Bama in 1st and 20, and you only bring 4, and you give Young time, and Dan Jackson gets beat. Stumble there. That's just not a battle he's going to win. Jackson has played really well for Georgia all year. Gritty guy, does really good in run support, does a lot of things really, really well, truthfully, but he's not going to win a foot race with John Mechie. He's just not. And I think, that's an area where if you're Georgia, you've got guys on your roster who will win those foot races, and you've got a month to get them up to game shape and, get them up to whatever schemes and packages you want to run them in and get them ready to go and play in the college football playoff. And I think you need to do that because, some of these things that Georgia did, you're going to see the same players and, their mental mistakes or whatever you want to call them. But there are, this is kind of the only time that you'll have seen Georgia all year have some guys on the field that maybe at times looked like they didn't belong. And a lot of that is just due to injuries in the secondary and, this roster being really, really banged up. But now you got a month to get healthy and you got a month to reassess. So, all right. So, it's still, though, you're up 10-7. You're in the second quarter. It's 1st and 10 at midfield. You're in a good spot. Georgia, I thought poor job here by Poole getting off the blocks, kind of a poor job by Quay Walker. There was a lot of this on the edge where it just felt like, and this has sort of been a problem going back. You saw it sometimes in the Tennessee game. Those guys have to do a better job getting upfield at the snap because it's pretty obvious when these screens are being run in modern college football, especially with the motion and the way these receivers are immediately trying to get into blocking stances. So it's your job if you're a safety or a linebacker or the DB that's out on that edge, maybe not even to make that tackle, but just move that blocker upfield and, disrupt the flow of the play and create a situation where that ball carrier has to make a little bit of an extra move or kind of hesitate a little bit or do something that allows your guys to get over to the edge. 1st and 10, you bring 4, but that's fine on run plays against Bama because you've got Georgia's D line. I mean, I thought the run defense was pretty good all day until that last drive, and at that point, the game was kind of out of reach anyways. And I don't know, the intensity was there, and those guys have been on the field a long time, but I still didn't see anything to think that Alabama has a great shot of running on Georgia if they were to play again. Yeah, 2nd and 10, you bring 4, and you let Bryce Young do that. Incredibly smart and heady play by him, but still, this is what you get for bringing 4 against Bryce Young. I mean, it's all day, guys. Like as we watch this tape, you bring 4, bad shit happens. You bring 5, good things happen. Here you're going to see Georgia bring some pressure. Look at that. This is the 2nd and 9 play. You bring 4. Young's got all day. He's directing traffic in the back of the end zone. Touchdown. William Poole, again, is the guy in coverage here. He, basically gives up inside leverage and then bites too hard on the fake. So next drive, this is a replay clip, but you get home a little bit and you let that happen in the back end because you're out of position. So it's just, that I guess that's one you can kind of live with. But the play on the edges from Georgia in this game, and I mean, I hate to, I know these guys are college kids and they're doing their best. And so I, don't want to pick on anybody too hard, but like Robert Beal in particular, there's a lot of plays where he's just out of position, or he's not giving very good effort pursuing off the backside of the play or when the play breaks down, and he's not setting edges well. And that was a huge factor in this game. There was a lot of plays that came for Alabama off of Bryce Young being able to kind of slip out the backside of the pocket. And it wasn't just him. There was, Nolan Smith had his moments where he struggled as well, and Travon Walker was on that edge at times too. Georgia really missed Adam Anderson in this game for sure. But again, you got a roster full of 4- and 5-star guys. You got Jamon Dumas-Johnson, who has flashed every time he's come on the field this year and can play inside backer and outside backer. Athletically, he is more up to the task. And I think if you're Kirby Smart and the rest of the staff, you have to consider giving those guys a shot, just because I think what's going to happen if you put Robert Beal out there again. And it's not because he's not a great kid who's, worked hard for a long time to get on the field at Georgia. It's just that's the situation you're in against Bama, and Bryce Young is as elusive as he is. You've got to have a little something extra than just kind of, average to slightly above average SEC edge play. Here you see William Poole again, just, lots of cushion. That was a theme throughout this game with him and the Georgia defense as a whole, just, given these big, like 10, 12, 15-yard cushions. And like we talked about at the top of this segment, the way that you got to defend this offense is bring pressure, first of all, but second of all, create some press coverage and really try to, kind of funnel these guys outside or disrupt them a little bit at the top of the route, or just not let them get such a clean get off, because it's a timing thing. But if you're in a situation where you're only bringing 4 and your guys aren't getting home, then I understand why these defenders felt like they had to give cushion because they didn't want to get blown by. But, it's like all of these things are related, and it just felt like this game plan was kind of shambolic from the word go. Here, look at that. You bring 4. Bryce Young's going to dance around. This is honest. This was one thing with Beal that was a little frustrating in the rewatch. Something you'd like to see better from him was just there was some plays like this where he kind of just gave up a little bit, and you see it here, just kind of jogging, not really doing much. And I know it's the second quarter. I know that Young's already broken contain, but the reality is that you're in a spot where, like, you know, you're playing for a championship. And so not giving up an extra 5 yards matters. This isn't the fourth quarter against Missouri when you're up 30 points. First and 10, you bring heat. Young beats it, kind of throws that little hitch. It's a good read by their offense, but you can live with a 6-yard gain. And then at 2nd and 4, not the best in run support by Georgia standards, but you've still got them in a 3rd and 1 situation, and you've got pressure coming on, and you brought 5. Look at that. Look at what happens when you bring 5 rushers, guys. I think you bring, Nakobe comes off the edge and reads the play and does a really good job. So, that was a field goal. And as bad as the last 3 drives have been, you're still tied at 17, almost heading to halftime against Alabama, and 1:35 left. You get a stop or even hold them to a field goal. You feel fine about where you are in this game. I think if you're Georgia, here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Chris Smith is on tight, and everything's hurried, and you get a pass breakup. Or maybe it's just 5 rushers. Yeah, 5 rushers. But still, you guys see what I'm talking about? Like, the pattern here is very, very obvious. And then, again, look at that. If you let Jamison Williams funnel to the boundary and go down the sideline, a little bit of hand fighting there, but you saw that both ways. It wasn't really called much in this game. Ringo does a pretty good job here, considering he's playing a guy that's about to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you just break coverage on the back end on a 3rd and 10 when you have a chance to get off the field. I mean, this is the type of game play that like really, really changed the game. And just someone's busted here. I think it was probably Poole again. I don't know. We didn't see busted coverages from this team all year, and then it's him. So you see him turn to go double cover over the middle of the field, and he should have been picking up this guy. This match coverage stuff is complicated, but if you're Georgia and you're putting a guy on the field, then you have to either have him ready to do what you're going to call, or you need to change what you call to fit what he's ready to do. 1, 2, 3, 4 rushing. You pretty good situation there. You get away with it. No really great pressure, but Carter's still back there, and he's still kind of disrupting Young and forcing him off his spot a little bit, and that's enough, And then here you got, this is the play. Great job by Devontae Wyatt here. Like, he slips and falls, and he is going to run down Bryce Young from behind and strip this ball. Nolan Smith, dude, you've got to jump on that ball. Like, you have a chance to get off the field, and in the half, you have got to jump on that ball. And I'm sure no one was more sick about that play than he was, but it's just like, those are the little things that Georgia's done right all year that they didn't do right in this game. And Bama did. And Bama played like a team that was playing for their lives, playing for their season and playing to try and survive. And Georgia played like a team that knew they could get into the college football playoff with a loss. Here, you're going to see on this replay, look at the cover, look at the amount of cushion that Poole is going to give away here. So he's lining up about 9 yards off, not too dissimilar from the guy next to him. Poole is here in the slot, but he backpedals to the 5-yard line. He basically backpedals to a spot where he's given up 15 yards of coverage. Like, you're not going to be able to make a break on that. Nobody is. Deion Sanders isn't going to make a break on that from that far away. Poor tackling here. So this is third quarter now. Start the second half. If you're a little bit better following Williams in motion and kind of being a little bit more intense, you probably make that tackle. And then You've got 2nd and 1. You bring 5. Look what happens. You got 3rd and 1. You bring 5. You probably should have gotten off the field there. You didn't. And then you're back at 1st and 10. Bama's running the ball a little bit better now, but, not the end of the world. Davis didn't have a great day against Alabama. He really didn't. I think that the offensive line changes that Bama made surprised Georgia a little bit, and they sort of played like they thought they were just going to come in there and dominate at the line of scrimmage. And to do that, you have to come in with the mentality of we're going to dominate at the line of scrimmage, and you have to come in with some aggression and anger. 2nd and 5, you bring 4, and you get burned by Jamison Williams again. Like I said before, I think that's you knew that they were going to hit a play like this, maybe a couple in this game, and I think you were probably fine with that. That was kind of the worst possible time for it to happen. But if you're not giving up all of these little, 15-yard kind of easy passes over the middle and all these sort of zone busts and coverage breaks, that's a play that, in terms of the state of the game, you probably could live with and be fine. Here, you bring rushers, good things are going to happen, as they do right here. Batted ball by Dean. And then the very next play, you bring 4 and, overthrow by Bryce, kind of a weird play there. And then you bring 5 on 3rd and 10. You get him moving off his spot. You get him off his back foot. You almost get a pick at the 40-yard line that would have set you up in good field position, but you get off the field because you brought 5 on 3rd down and didn't let him stand back there and pick you apart. And so, after that touchdown that Bama scored, Georgia, played pretty well on defense. They went on some long drives on offense. They didn't convert, and I'm going to do the offensive tape next show. But, Georgia started playing like you see Ringo down here is playing a little bit tighter coverage on the boundary than he had been earlier in the game. You see this group in the middle, kind of coming. You're getting off the edge a little bit better. You're doing some different things with your front. Look at the press here. You got I think that's still Poole, but he's down here bodied up in the slot. You got Ringo right here, but you have Kendrick up here tight. This bunch formation, Alabama absolutely killed Georgia out of. They've got to do some tape work on that because it confused them a lot. But even here, you only bring 4. Like that's just a good play. You can't give up inside leverage to anybody when you don't have any help over the middle. But still, like you can live with those little types of plays. It's just the busts that kill you. They're better job by Poole getting off blocks, getting upfield. Here, look at this. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys up the line. They got some pre-snap motion going on. But you're making Bryce Young think a little bit about who's coming and from where. He gets it out, but, it's still like you're not giving up these crazy plays. And then you bring the house on 3rd and 3, move him off his spot, get him moving right, almost maybe get a turnover out of it. It's pretty simple, guys. And I mean, like LSU installed 6 new blitzes before they played Alabama earlier this year. Auburn did, a lot of bringing more than 4, and they got pressure with their front 4 a lot as well, but they pressed up, and Roger McCreary took turns on Williams and Mechie and had those dudes locked down for most of that game until he kind of wore down and cramped up late. So like the recipe is there. It's just Georgia didn't really follow the instructions in this game. And this is what happens. Right. So it's a bummer. Like, if you're a Georgia fan, it's you're tired of losing this game. But it's pretty obvious what you have to do against Alabama. Like if you let a guy as accurate and athletic as Bryce Young move around in the pocket and have time all day and have the ability to create more time, because you're not getting pressure off the edges and you're not, kind of moving him outside, then problems happen. There you saw again. You blitz, you get a ball that's behind Billingsley, and it's the type of play that you're happy with if you're Georgia. So pretty obvious kind of things on what UGA needs to fix. I think that moving forward, people have been asking me a lot, right? Can Georgia beat Alabama? And all of this kind of, is it possible when you go back and watch the tape? Is it doable? Yes, it's absolutely doable. Like, there's a reason that Georgia was a 7-point favorite in this game. Alabama's they're Alabama, and we're all talking about them like they're Alabama again, but there's a reason why there was a lot of money on Georgia that was bet on this game, and there was a lot of people that thought Georgia would win this game, and in some cases thought Georgia would win this game kind of comfortably. And so I think that if you're Georgia, you have the psychological edge in a potential rematch without a doubt. There's no question about that. But you also have the ability to, maybe come out and do some different things on defense. And just looking at how they played defense, they really did play defense different than they had all year. And I really kind of felt like there was some plays that they maybe could have done different things from a personnel standpoint, maybe should have done different things from a personnel standpoint. And these guys designed this defense. They're not dumb. So it's sort of my opinion of maybe there was a little bit of just I don't want to say sandbagging, but I think maybe there was a point in this game where it was okay, we're going to see these guys again. Let's not empty the clip, so to speak. Let's not, Todd, maybe don't call that, end around Brock Bowers pass, or, let's maybe not try Dumas Johnson at the edge because we don't think we can get back and win this game anyways. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not in the booth. I'm not part of those conversations, but I do know that it just felt a little bit kind of different than we've seen Georgia play all year. And, if Georgia went and changed up their scheme, after 13 weeks of giving up 6.9 points per game, that would be silly, right? I do think that they were scared of Bama's speed at wide receiver, and that influenced how they game planned and how they called that game. And I think that was a poor decision on their part, and hopefully they learn from it. I'm sure they will, right? They're not going to go do the same thing again. But yeah, I think that if you can get healthy on defense and you can kind of go back to the style that you play and maybe look a little more closely at the LSU and Auburn tape, because it felt like they, didn't take as many things from what those two defenses did as they possibly should have or could have, then you can go out there and have a good result against this Alabama offense, especially with John Mechie out for the season. That changes how you have to defend them quite significantly. So going to kind of shift gears here. I know that was a lot and long, but thank you guys. So tomorrow is obviously early signing day. Georgia is in position, as they kind of seemingly always have been since Kirby Smart came into town, to potentially sign the number one class in the country, depending on how how the chips may fall tomorrow. Today, though, they got a really, I think, kind of big piece of news. I put a tweet out yesterday that Georgia is sort of in a spot where they very well may sign the best. They might sign kind of what's on paper the best secondary class that we've seen, not just in Georgia history, but one of the best, if not the best, in recruiting history. So, part of that was the assumption or the thought that Dalen Everette might sign with UGA. That happened he committed to Georgia today. He will sign officially tomorrow. But wanted to give you guys a little bit of his tape and just kind of talk about him a little bit. So Everette is a guy that is a, consensus top 20 recruit, or I'm sorry, top 50 overall recruit in the country. On3 has him as their number one DB. Some of the other services have him in other places, but you're going to see him down there on the bottom in coverage. Really long defender. What I love about his game is he gets his head around and plays the ball in the air. He also plays the ball at its highest point, which a lot of DBs don't often do. A guy that is just really long, 6'2", 180 pounds. He was clocked at 4.37 in the 40-yard dash as a freshman. I don't know if that was hand timed or laser timed. Probably not laser timed, but he's fast, right? If he's not a 4.3 guy, he's a 4.4 guy. And at 6'2", 180, that's what you want to be. This play really, really impresses me. You're going to see him in man coverage, and he's going to leave his guy and go basically. So he's up here at the top of the screen or at the top of the field. But he's going to go and see this kind of fly ball coming, and he's just going to leave his guy and go make the play in center field. That's a real high level of field awareness that you just don't see very much on football fields in general. A lot of corners, they get into what they're doing and they kind of get tunnel vision and they're just focused on the guy in front of them. And for him to, know what's going on and be watching the quarterback's eyes while being in coverage is impressive. Now, at the next level, he's not going to have the athletic advantage that he has over everyone he faces in high school, but still that shows a level of instinct that's pretty impressive there. Kind of play like he looks comfortable in man and zone concepts. And that's a big deal for this kind of modern iteration of the Georgia defense where they're playing these match coverages. They are playing more zone than they ever have, but they still do need guys to man up on the boundary and not let anybody go anywhere. So all in all, just good ball skills, high points the ball, instinctive football player, moves really well. And here, that's just, easy pickings for him. But also has some return ability. Was pretty impressed with some of the tape that I watched, what he can do. Here he just like ninja kicks a dude in the head and then keeps rolling. But he will be in man coverage on the boundary. But if he sees an opportunity to come over and make a play on the ball in the middle of the field, he will, like we were talking about. His ability to, I think, play, possibly in the slot or out on the boundary is pretty significant. If there's anything to nitpick, it's the angles and run support like you saw there. In high school, he can just use his speed and get over there. But I think in college, be a little bit different story. He will have to take better angles and get to guys. But he is everything that you want physically for an SEC corner. And I think already has a pretty high level of field awareness. And, we saw with Ringo this year, younger corner that still figuring things out, struggles at times to kind of know what's going on around him in terms of what's happening in the play, or struggled against Clemson in certain situations early in the year, just getting his head turned around and making plays. So I think that Georgia will be, very happy to have him. And I think it's a position of great need. Georgia's really thin in the secondary right now. And just looking at this, Kendrick is gone. Scene could be gone. Christopher Smith could be gone. So you're going to have to reload in that secondary again next year. And It looks like they've got some of the guys to do it. I mean, they've got Jaheim Singletary that should sign tomorrow as well. He's a 5-star, number 3 defensive back in the country. And then Corey Thomas, 4-star safety. Marquise Groves Killebrew is committed. He's the number 13 DB in the country, although I am hearing some late whispers that he may be a flip candidate away from UGA. And then you've got Kamari Wilson and, a guy that still hasn't committed but has been a long time UGA lean, I think, according to a lot of people. So we'll see. As far as other things to watch for early signing day, I think this is probably going to be one of the more eventful, probably the most eventful signing day we've had since Kirby Smart has been coach at Georgia. Just a lot of moving pieces still on the board. I don't think anybody knows exactly how many guys Georgia's going to take just because of the whole COVID year stuff that's happening. And, I don't think we really know how many slots they have. It's not just kind of the traditional situation of like, well, there's 25 and 23 are committed. So it's probably these two, it's a little bit more guessing on the numbers, I think, for a lot of folks this year. From what I've heard today from the people that I trust with recruiting, I know that Kamari has been out there tweeting, Florida State Spears and Florida pictures and stuff like that, but I still expect him to sign with Georgia tomorrow. It sounds like Marvin Jones Jr. is still in the queue. So I think, that would be a huge get for Georgia. Guy that's a Florida State legacy. I think a lot of people thought he would end up at Florida State, but sounds like, from what I know right now, here at the 11th hour, and a lot could change by tomorrow when he puts a hat on, it sounds like he should be a dog. Lots of stuff going on Twitter with Julian Humphrey as well. This whole secondary thing, I think that something will shake out here. Humphrey and Groves Killebrew, those are guys that you think have kind of been in the boat, but there's also some whispers of Smoke Bowie maybe coming back from Texas A&M, so that might cause one of these other 2 DBs to leave. It's possible that Georgia and Texas A&M just trade Bowie and Groves Killebrew. Does sound like Ernest Green is probably inbound, the big offensive lineman. That I think is a big get for Georgia. Georgia really needs to, this, probably the weakest part of this class right now for UGA is the offensive line. There are guys, they did just have Luke Bobo commit, which I know the staff was much higher on him than his rating. And I don't think that's just because he's Mike Bobo's kid. But, Green is a 6'4.5", 330, 300 pound, kind of in that range. Guy from California. It's impressive that Georgia can go out to California and get the 3rd best player in the country if they are able to do so. Guy where it felt like it was kind of coming down to the wire between Georgia and Bama, but lots of potential there. One of the top 40, 50 players in the country, and this class has kind of shined at everywhere except for wide receiver and offensive line. The defense is stacked. It's ridiculous what Georgia's going to sign tomorrow on defense, but you would like to see Georgia shore up some things at wide receiver and OL if there's some late opportunities there. Obviously, everyone is still wondering about Travis Hunter. I think that he's probably going to end up at Florida State, but the way that things are, he could be in Athens a year later with this transfer portal stuff. He's not a guy that I think is going to, maybe stick around and go 6-6 every year. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know the kid. I haven't sat down with him, but just from people that I know that do know him, there is a feeling there that even if Georgia loses out on this, depending on how things go in Tallahassee over the next year to 2 years, you could still see him in a UGA uniform someday. And that's probably the case for everybody that's going to sign everywhere tomorrow, right? For the most part, like these guys are going to get into the programs, and if there's playing opportunity or they develop well or the staff is, sees them as a guy that can play right away, then they're probably going to stay where they are. And, or, maybe they don't. It just all depends on how it all shakes out. But long story short, that's the kind of the weird thing about signing day now is there's no more like this guy's signing here for the next 3 to 4 years, barring something that's pretty rare. It is open season free agency in college football. So any of these guys could go elsewhere at any time. But I don't know. I do think that the Travis Hunter thing is probably a little bit closer than some people think. I know Florida State people feel very good about him, but I think that there's been more stuff going on behind the scenes than I think a lot of people realize, just in terms of communication and contact with him and the Georgia staff. And yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out tomorrow. But thank you guys for joining me. I know that listening to me talk the entire time instead of me and Josh is not as fun. Appreciate you bearing with me. It's been a little while since I've recorded, so a bit rusty, but definitely going to be on here tomorrow to react to signing day things as they happen. It's always like kind of college football Christmas, right? So hope you guys will join and have some fun and chat and break down a little bit of these guys' games and talk about what happens. I think tomorrow is going to be pretty dramatic just across the board and across the country, but Georgia's class in particular, I think there's still a lot of moving parts too. So I'm sure everyone will be refreshing their pay sites this evening and doing all that stuff and watching Twitter. And I'll, be here tomorrow to react to it and kind of check it all out with you guys. So hope you guys have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow sometime. Thanks.